Pete Buttigieg had some harsh words about Joe Biden on a topic that Joe Biden has not actually received much criticism on just yet. So this is what Pete Buttigieg said. This is an example of why years in Washington is not always the same thing as judgment. He supported the worst foreign policy decision made by the US in my lifetime, which was the decision to invade Iraq. And so I expected going into this primary that Biden's long support for the Iraq war would be a big detriment. It doesn't seem to have hurt him much yet. What do you think about Buttigieg choosing to make this a topic at this point in the primary?
I just have to say, totally tangent here. I'm noticing myself. This is a real vacation beard I have going. But regardless of that, I think that
it is. It looks like you just dropped out of the Democratic primary.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. I think that look, I think that it surprises me that we have not seen more from all of the candidates. Though Bernie's done some on Iraq. I think that Buttigieg, though, is kind of a surprising person to bring it forward. I think his whole kind of foreign policy manifesto, he's criticizing it as a mistake, not as a systemic, moral, strategic failing. And I think that that's really a vital distinction. If I was Biden, I would ask Buttigieg, what besides Iraq, theoretically, would you actually do differently from me? So, I think it's an interesting lane of attack. They're fighting for the same space. And I think Bernie's done it several times. I think it should be done more. Maybe it's the bigger lesson is that there are these major catastrophes that we're still living through that barely ever get any attention. Yeah. The Afghanistan war, the invasion of Iraq, and the 2008 financial meltdown, I think, are still the global template for our politics. And we barely talk about any of those things. Biden has a very bad record with regards to all three. Buttigieg gives zero indication. I mean, the youngest candidate with the oldest thinking in the race is Pete Buttigieg. And I have to say, if I was voting in that center-right lane, I would pick Biden over Buttigieg, just as a tangent. Because I think, look, people who are worried about beating Donald Trump, which you should be, and there's major concerns about Biden now against Trump, I just cannot comprehend, especially because so many people around Buttigieg talk about how serious they are. I cannot comprehend the level of lack of seriousness to even contemplate putting forward a college town mayor who can't win statewide in the Midwest with a bad record in a general election. It's actually embarrassing.
One thing, so Pete's coming in now, he's bringing up Iraq. Maybe he'll do that in future debates and we'll see if it has an effect. But one thing that, I don't know if you noticed it back before, that I expected to happen was there was a sequence of 3 debates where Tulsi Gabbard was sort of targeting a candidate each time. And it seems like based on what she's running on, the core of her candidacy, attacking Biden for being supportive of these wars, like that seems like a slam dunk. But she didn't do that. And in fact, when asked about it, she was defensive of Joe Biden's record when she was attacking like Elizabeth Warren on foreign policy, which is fine. You can totally differentiate yourself there. But Elizabeth Warren didn't vote for the war in Iraq. That seems like that would have been a much stronger attack earlier in the race than Pete Buttigieg bringing it up now.
I think kind of my read in the beginning, I don't exactly know what Tulsi's strategy is now. I thought in the beginning that it seemed to me that even though she had this sort of break with the Democratic establishment, for lack of a better word, it seemed to me that she was definitely positioning herself for Biden's VP. I don't know now. I mean, she isn't on the stage anymore. But that would be the only rational explanation I could see for her not going after Biden on that stuff. And again, I just think it's really important to, even Pete Buttigieg, frankly, it wasn't like this guy was an anti-war activist in college. It wasn't like this, this opposition to the invasion of Iraq. You have to really watch when somebody talks about it as, a blunder or a mistake versus what it really was, which was an illegal, horrifying, absolutely unwarranted assault that has cost conservatively millions of lives, displaced many others, and wasn't just like, it wasn't like running a stop sign or having a little too much to drink or something.
Exactly, yeah, there were a number of bungles in it, but getting into it wasn't like, oops, we ended up in war. Right. Exactly. Check Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.